And back at it here on the 2 Deep podcast with you as always, Jef Chadiha from the NFL Network and NFL.com. Eric Eager from Pro Football Focus. You can find his work at PFF.com. My name is Soren Petro. You can catch me at Sports Radio 810 WHB. That's 810WHB.com. It's our first annual NFL mock draft, as each of us will take a third of the field. We'll give you the 33rd pick so we can each make 11 picks. And in random fashion, we selected Jeff's going to go first. Eric's going to go second. I'm going to go third. Wait a minute. Eric was the guy who was all giddy. On a scale of 1 to 10, Eric, your giddiness is where?
I'm excited. Like, I one of the things I really like about this podcast is that, it's just that we're all different points of view from what we're used to, right? So, we were doing prep for the PFF draft show, which is Thursday night. It's myself, Trevor Sikkema, Chris Collinsworth, and Mike Renner. But I kind of know what they all think about everything, right? In fact, I was surprised actually that Chris came out and said he liked Trayvon Walker the other day, despite all of our data, he liked him. That was a rare surprise. Whereas with you guys, we don't mock draft together. So this is going to be kind of fun. It's going to be a novelty for the listeners.
Jeff, where's your level of excitement as far as mock drafting goes?
Well, I'm excited because I don't normally do mock drafts. And so it's fun to do it with you guys. Obviously, I had to do some homework here, knowing that Eric was going to be involved in this and all the, he's got it's like going into a fight with Mike Tyson. You got to have all your tricks ready. So I don't know what the ground rules are. I didn't really establish that as far as no trades and time limits and all that stuff. But I got a lot of paper in front of me. I got my legal pad. I got my red pen, my green pen. I'm going to try to keep up with you guys.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I was asked. Are we going to trade? We are trying to get this done in a decent amount of time so that we don't keep ourselves here all night, but everybody else here all night. Are we actually going to try to make trades, Eric?
We can. By the way, I don't really think we need to. I think it's fun. It's a fun exercise in any event. But yeah, I think this will just be a fun. We don't even need to make trades for this to be enjoyable. I think for everybody involved. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I would love to, but I think we could do it over 19 episodes.
Yeah,
to get through it, because each trade would be an episode.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like people don't realize how far down the rabbit hole you go when you start talking the trade part of the equation, right? That to me is the amazing part. Jeff, do you like having the number 1 overall pick?
I love it. I already know who I'm picking. I've known who I'm picking for the last 3-4 months. It's an easy pick to make. There's no projecting going on here. I'm all production when it comes here. I'm taking Trent Baalke's job in Jacksonville and going to make him look good with this pick.
Do you like where you're sitting at number 2, Eric? You do, by the way, I will point out, have one of the Chiefs picks.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, look, I've been mock drafting the Chiefs for months now, so I feel like it was only important for me to pick number 2. Although this one's tricky, right? Because I feel like Jeff's pick, you can go one of 2 ways, but I think I could go one of 5 ways with this pick. So I'm kind of excited for pick 2, and I'm kind of excited because if you look at our mock draft simulator at PFF, Soren, it says that your pick, the 3rd pick, Houston needs every position. That's right. What it says.
Right. And I listen, I will throw much love to PFF.com and NFL.com because I've got honestly, I have so many windows I can't remember where some of the things are. Jeff said he's got all kinds of paper. I have between the screen that's in front of me that has the camera and my laptop over here. I have so many different windows open, mock drafts, tools from both NFL.com and PFF.com. So thank you. And I love the exercise because I go down the rabbit hole of everything being Chiefs and having to go break down another team for me.
Oh, it's hard.
It is. And we do. We talk NFL here on 2 Deep. We talk Chiefs on our Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. If anyone, just subscribes to one and not the other, we have a couple podcasts that we do each week during the season, every other week when we're in the off season. But it was a good exercise to do a deep dive on some of the other teams. So I did enjoy it. All right, we got a lot of picks to make. Jeff, you said that you've had your pick ready to go now for a long time. Who do the Jacksonville Jaguars take at number 1?
We are going with Aiden Hutchinson from the University of Michigan. I know there's a lot of buzz about Trayvon Walker and whatever he did at Georgia, but he didn't do enough at Georgia to supplant what Aiden Hutchinson is going to bring to the Jaguars. I like a guy who's already been in the position of being a foundational piece. I just can't trust myself to buy into a guy like Walker who didn't do a whole lot given his ability level, given his testing. I don't like prospects like that, so I'm going to go with Hutchinson, my first pick.
Do we? By the way, are we doing what they're going to pick or what we think they should pick?
What they should pick.
What they should pick. Okay.
They should pick.
All right. Pick number 1, Aiden Hutchinson. Stunning. Jef Chadiha, Michigan man. Found himself a Michigan man with the number 1 overall pick. And, of course, that helps the PFF podcast with Aiden Hutchinson, which is something you can find at pff.com. Eric, you're on the clock now. Number 2, the Detroit Lions.
Jeff's Detroit Lions, by the way.
That's right. Don't fuck this up.
Look, I think a lot of people think I'm going to fuck this up, but look, I got pick 32 as well. I think that I could go a number of different ways. I can go Kayvon Thibodeau. I could go Trayvon Walker. I could go Sauce Gardner. I think I got Amani Oruwariye. I got Jeff Okudah. I got pick 32, and there's a bunch of edge players that might fall to me. So I'm going to take a big swing here and go Malik Willis, quarterback, Liberty.
Oh my God!
Blew it up.
Oh my! Now everything I've got is now right down the toilet. Like, what? Okay, let's back up. What percentage chance do you think this would actually possibly happen?
I think there's probably a 1 in 4 chance this happens.
Really? And this would be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He can't be there at 32. You can't trade up somewhere to get him. I think if Malik Willis doesn't go 2 to the Lions, I think he's going to go relatively early after that to the Steelers with a trade. Not Panthers.
No, I think the Panthers are going to trade back, or I even think that I think the Panthers are going to trade back. So I'm going to go Malik Willis, quarterback, Liberty.
I mean, this thing got turned upside down.
Yeah, that was Soren's pick, wasn't it?
Right away. No, it wasn't. I know. I'm not in love with any of the quarterbacks, so there's not one team that I anticipate taking a quarterback on, and I don't see. I would probably put him at the top of my list, but I would never take him that high. But okay, with him gone, that made it easier for me. I know there's a lot. Most people have the Texans swinging an offensive tackle. That's. Do you love the offensive tackles, or at least I've seen a lot that do, but they don't have a pass rusher. You have to get after the quarterback. Obviously, the best athlete on the board is Kayvon Thibodeau from Oregon. I don't see any way that he is on the slide. And I'm with you, Jeff. This idea that Trayvon Walker is going to go above him, I don't get where that's coming from.
Yeah.
If you just watch Thibodeau play, the get off is there. I don't know. Eric might have some advanced analytics or advanced, metrics. I know he does everything on all the speed and where guys are on the field, but I just don't see how if you want an edge guy, without a doubt, the guy that to me is the best all-around package, the safest pick. And I think when you're up this high floors are usually the mindset of people up high. They're not high ceilings. You get a little lower, your fans are off your back. You can't miss. I think Thibodeau's the pick here for the Houston Texans. It's the one that I'm making for the Houston Texans. The Jets are on the clock. Jeff, do you feel a need to make a poor selection?
I battle with this one. I don't love the idea of taking a cornerback this high playing in a defense like Robert Saleh plays, a lot more zone-heavy stuff. But I love Sauce Gardner. He's a Detroit kid. I think I can get a wide receiver I like with that second pick later on. I don't have to force it here. It goes against my greater instincts, but I think he's going to help this defense play at a high level. I'm going with Sauce Gardner here from Cincinnati, a corner.
I don't think that's off the wall. Eric, you okay with that pick?
Yeah, corner's tough because it's such a variable position. But the Jets actually don't have that many holes. The Jets are a weird team. They don't have that many holes, but they don't have that many elite players, right? So like George Fant's the right tackle, Mekhi Becton's their left tackle. They don't need a tackle. and they have another pick at 10 if they really want to.
Right.
So I like this is a swing. This is a swing to get an elite guy into the mix. Gardner's been moving up. I think Houston at pick 3 might be where he, his ceiling in this draft.
Yeah,
So
I thought about corner there for the Texans.
Yeah. So okay, at pick. So like I'm in a good position now with the Giants because got Andrew Thomas at pick 4 in 2020. I got Matt Pert from UConn at right tackle. It's not great. So I got my pick of the top 3 offensive tackles here. So I'm going to go Ike Ekwonu at 5.
Okay.
The tackle from NC State. So I'm going to go Ike Ekwonu. At one point, Ike Ekwonu, at one point during the combine, he was starting. Evan Neal was the favorite to be drafted, number 1 overall, but Ekwonu was catching up. I think he ends up being the guy that is the first tackle taking as a favorite in the markets. So I'm going to go Ekwonu and pair him with Mekhi Becton.
Alabama offensive tackles have not had the success that maybe they're supposed to. A lot of them end up getting slotted down to guard. I don't know if that's because they're so good everywhere. They get to shine a little bit, and then they appear to be better than they are. But that's not going to shy me away from Evan Neal.
Wow.
Year 6 to the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
I think they need to protect. If you don't have a
Sam Darnold?
If you don't have a great quarterback, which they don't,
Or Baker Mayfield?
you better keep whatever you do have on their feet.
Yeah.
And I do think Neal's massive. I think he passes the eye test. I don't think this is Alex Leatherwood. Okay. I think this kid's the real deal, has the feet for the position, and has the kind of size that you want. So I think Evan Neal is a pick that the Carolina Panthers would love to make here. And that's where I go right here. Giants on the clock with the Jef Chadiha pick.
I'm all about edge rusher here. Eric just drafted the offensive tackle we need, so we need to find an edge rusher. And guess what? I'm still not buying Trayvon Walker in this situation. I'm going with Jermaine Johnson, a Minneapolis native, a guy who had more production at FSU. Granted, only 1 big year there, but I think he's a wild card in the top 15 of this draft. I think he's a significantly better player than Trayvon Walker. May not test as well, but the numbers are there as far as on the field production. So I'm going with Jermaine Johnson. And Trayvon Walker is falling like a rock right now in this draft.
Yes, he is. All right, well, that brings us to Eric and the Atlanta Falcons. Eric, where are you?
Yeah, this is one that's interesting because if I look, I know that if I'm looking at the Atlanta Falcons, they don't have that many good players, right? And, Malik Willis obviously would have been a possibility there. If you look at Jake Matthews, they just re-upped Jake Matthews. So Charles Cross is less of a thought process there. I'm not a big fan of Trayvon Walker as far as, I just don't think the production matches the athleticism. So I'm going to swing for the fences here. I'm going to take Jameson Williams, wide receiver, Alabama.
Whew.
Wow. See, I knew that I would not be taking Jameson Williams because I knew he would go higher than anybody thinks. I don't know that he goes this high.
I'm going to cash my 5-1 first wide receiver bet with this one. I'm manifesting it a little bit, Soren.
I do believe that he is the first wide receiver taken. I think it's higher than people think. But, Jeff, you think he goes at 8?
I don't. I thought if you're going to say receiver, I thought you were going to say Garrett Wilson. But, I think people love the idea of Jameson Williams before he got hurt. And granted, ACLs aren't the same thing as they were even 5 or 6 years ago. But he got hurt in January. Yeah. I just think there's guys who are going to be more productive at that position in year 1. But as far as long-term, he'll probably have the better career of anybody out there.
The Willis McGahee workout videos to drive his price up is certainly working on the general public and worked on Eric Eager. I don't know that it'll work to that extent that high, but interesting. And this one, to me, the Seahawks, if I'm trying to figure out what they do, I think they probably take Kyle Hamilton, right? That's not who I'm taking.
Whoa.
That's not who I'm taking. If I tried to figure out what they're going to do, that's what they probably do, is try to recreate everything they had before, try to get the good old days back together. Right. And that to me would be a mistake. I think what the Seahawks need to do is absolutely take the best player available. And I think the best player available is Derek Stingley Jr. And that's who I'm going to have them taking. I think they get the top cover corner in this draft. I think you get a guy who's been bored for 2 years Now he flips the switch with the Seattle Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are thrilled to get the best corner in the draft at number 9. I'll go Derek Stingley Jr.
You said the best corner in the draft?
Yeah.
Better than Sauce Gardner?
Yes.
So you're saying I made the wrong pick at 4.
I didn't say that. You can certainly infer it.
Okay. All right.
I think the best player recently, but I think the biggest upside is Stingley. And it doesn't matter if he only has to be the second best to make this pick worthwhile.
Yeah.
Sauce Gardner went first. All right, Jeff, you're back up with the Jets.
Well, thanks to Eric taking Jameson Williams, I have a ton of options here. I want to get a receiver. I tried to trade for Tyreek Hill. That didn't happen. I'm not going to go spend my draft capital to bring in Deebo Samuel or A.J. Brown or DK Metcalf. Plenty of guys out there who can give me what I want from my young quarterback and Zach Wilson. I'm going to go with the highest grade receiver on my board, which is Ohio State's Garrett Wilson.
Okay, Garrett Wilson comes off the board. So we now have 2 wide receivers, and I think that's one of the questions. How fast are the wide receivers going to come off the board? I don't think the wide receiver class is quite as good as everybody else does. I'm not saying the top guys aren't good, but I'm not every time I run through the mock drafts on the simulators, I never find myself taking wide out. So, all right, Garrett Wilson goes to the Jets. How do we shoulder Jeff with both Jets picks? We probably should have mixed that up a little bit. So
well, you guys wanted the Chiefs picks. That's how it happened. So.
Yeah, I know. That is how it happened. That brings us to the Washington Commanders. One Eric Eager will make the selection for them.
Yeah, this is one. I think underrated. Both line of scrimmages for the football team / Commanders were pretty good last year. I think they were really let down by Taylor Heineke. They were really let down by Antonio Gibson. On the defensive side, Kendall Fuller, former Chief, had a great year. But they don't have that sort of difference maker in the secondary. Cameron Curl's pretty good, but I think they need to have this difference maker. I think this is where the slide ends for Notre Dame's Kyle Hamilton. So I'm going to take Kyle Hamilton at 11, who is top player on a lot of people's boards. Weirdly, just not the right people's boards.
Yeah.
You believe in those? You're not concerned by those 40 times?
I am, but at pick 11, you're getting this is a player who I think, for one, I think Minnesota takes him at 12 if he doesn't go here.
That's where I was going to go.
So I think this is the spot. I would have gone quarterback here, or and it's too high to take a linebacker, which I know they need, but. To me, Hamilton's that difference-making player. Landon Collins was not it in free agency for them. They have William Jackson. They have Kendall Fuller. They have some good players at corner. St. Juste as well. So I think this makes their defense scary again.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't like Hamilton. So I guess maybe I wouldn't have gone there, but that's who I think is probably the spot for him. But I actually get to take the player that I think if it came down to it, I would take, and that's George Karlaftis. I know that there's a lot of talk about him sliding. I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's enough physical numbers there for everybody to like him. There's enough production there. Somebody's going to fall in love with the attitude and everything. And I think the Minnesota Vikings have a lot of needs everywhere, especially on the defensive line. And so I think George Karlaftis of Purdue goes here. I think they've got to start scaring some of the other quarterbacks. And I think Karlaftis is good. Do you guys buy that he's going to be down? There's some that have him in the late 20s. Some have him in, 30.
I mean, his draft prop is now, it was 16.5. And then when I did your show Monday, and then I think it's now in the 20s. I mean, he's a favorite. He's a favorite.
The Ravens were enough. Everybody liked for the Ravens, right?
Well, I think Jordan Davis is the one that people like to the Ravens, but the Karlaftis was considered by a lot of really smart people, I think, a very good edge player. So let's look actually right now. Karlaftis. So right now, Karlaftis' draft prop is 19.5. Pick 19.5. Overs -140. So he's a favorite to go 20 or later. But I agree with you. I think from a production standpoint, from a athleticism standpoint, he did his pro day, I think, in 30-degree weather and tested extremely well. The guy's a hoss. I have no idea why he's falling so much. It could just be that we're all falling in love with the Trayvon Walkers and the Jermaine Johnsons of the world. Walker, by the way, still hasn't gone in this draft. It feels like Houston, the favorite to take him at 3, now could take him at 13.
Yes, it sure does.
Yeah, is that what you guys are saying I should be doing? Because
no, I'm
I mean,
so I had a whole different player in mind right now.
There's not a lot
But
of
Trayvon Walker at 13, I need some edge help there. I am playing in a conference. There's a lot of good quarterbacks. I got to have someone get after the quarterback somehow. Again, lack of production in college concerns me, but he is right now the best player left on my board at a key position. I will take Trayvon Walker at 13 for the Houston Texans.
So as somebody who really, I know people who work for the Ravens. They're one of my favorite teams. I think that they do a decent amount of the things right, not everything right. I was hoping this player fell to me because he's PFF's third player on the big board. He's a position of need for the Ravens. This is just a great, I'm taking Charles Cross of Mississippi State, the tackle.
Okay.
They lost Orlando Brown to the Chiefs. Ronnie Stanley went out for a season-ending injury 2 years in a row. Alejandro Villanueva retires. This is a position of need, but also a great value pick for the Ravens. This would lose me a lot of money because I have Cross under 8.5 draft prop. I think he goes before pick 8, but he did not in our draft.
That brings us to me with the Philadelphia Eagles at 15, and this is the spot. This is the team that I think makes the move for Jameson Williams. Right, I see some kind of move from 15 to 12, using some of their picks to get him, and so I think Jameson Williams ends up with the Eagles. I think teams when they have multiple picks, start to get. And Eric, you may even have said this. They start to get crafty. I know my buddy Danny Clinkscale talked about it, that they feel like, well, we can gamble with one because we have 2 picks. Never mind the fact that you traded away real capital to get that pick. So theoretically, you should actually maybe be more conservative with it. But I do agree that they tend to get a little bit excited. So I don't see the Eagles just sitting tight. I think they're going to move. But in our scenario, we have them in the spot. They could use D-line. They could use wideout. I think they're going to take a wideout at some point. I don't think they want to let any more wideouts go. I recall one, Cipriano. What's the coach's name?
Sirianni,
yeah.
Sirianni with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs had good success with Dwayne Bowe. I'm actually going to take Drake London here. I think he fits what they do. I think he's a guy that if he hadn't been hurt, we could be talking about being higher. I think Drake London comes off the board here and goes to the Eagles.
In I would say a memoriam for them today, changing another kind of bad separator, good contested catch guy from the Pac-12, JJ Arcega-Whiteside. Today they moved him from wide receiver to tight end officially. In honor of him, I really like that pick, Soren.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's what I'm going for, is to get an A on Eric Eager's draft grades. All right.
I think you guys, though, sitting there with 29 and 30, got to feel pretty good about the receivers still left to you.
I don't like the receivers that are going to be there, period.
Really?
The likelihood, if you want to preview for our Kansas City fans, at 30, I'll be stunned if I find a wide receiver that's there that I'm going to take. Jeff, you're up with the Saints.
All right, Saints. I'm looking at, what do I got here on my board here? I'm looking at receiver. I'm looking at O-tackle. I'm looking at defensive line. Who do I like there? Okay, you know what? Following Eric's lead here with the quarterback swinging for the fences, I'm going to take Kenny Pickett with this pick in the hopes that Jameson, what was the quarterback's name from Florida State? I can't remember his name now anyway.
Jameis Winston?
Jameis Winston can hold it down for a year, and I can develop this guy and have a quarterback to move forward with. I don't love it, but I feel like I got another pick coming up here, and I can get another player there. So I'll go with Kenny Pickett at 16.
Kenny Pickett, another quarterback comes off the board. I will say this from a Kansas City perspective: anytime a quarterback goes, there's a thrill because it's just bumping any other position down. Chargers are up. Do we see the third quarterback go already? Eric, are you going to be bold here and go quarterback for the Chargers?
No, I think they're solid there. The Chargers, this one's just a straight up value pick for me. I know they got J.C. Jackson from The New England Patriots, they got Asante Samuel Jr. In the draft last year. I think Chris Harris is still on the team. But in an offseason where they've done a really good job of sort of taking the, sort of building, putting themselves in position here. I either take Trent McDuffie of Washington or I take the next best tackle, which, right now, like Bernard Raymond, we also Penning from UNI. I think McDuffie here is too good of a value to take the next best tackle because I don't think the next best tackle is the 17th best player on the board. So I'm going to go Trent McDuffie, cornerback, Washington.
Wow.
Interesting. That throws a lot of pressure on me because I like that pick. That's where I was actually going to go with the Eagles there. This is my first pickle, my first dilemma.
And have enough good corners in the AFC West, right?
You got like 15 now on that team.
That's true. The Eagles, I think, could use defensive back help for sure. I already addressed wide receiver, although I would be in favor of maybe even throwing 2 picks at wide receiver and hoping we land at least one guy because I think they could use some help there. But obviously going wide receiver last year, I don't think that's the way teams will think. So I am going to I don't know that I love Andrew Booth or Kyer Elam, who are the next couple of corners on the board. Enough to go there, though. This would be a spot, I think, again, I think if you're the Eagles, you're looking to trade down when it's all said and done. I didn't want to take this guy this high, but it's where I think I'm going to go. Am I really going to go here? Oh, I hate where I'm at. I'm going to check one more thing. Let's check one more thing.
Clock is ticking.
I know. I'm going to go with Daxton Hill.
Whoa! Wow!
We go with Daxton Hill.
Daxton Hill, by the way, went from basically even money to being a first-round pick like a couple days ago, and I think now he's like minus 200 or something. So he certainly is flying up the boards a little bit, but this would be high for him.
You're telling me you don't like any of my picks right now. I go with Karlaftis. Like taking Big Ten guys is a sin. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm saying I think in the case of Karlaftis, I think you're picking him where he should go. I just don't know if the market will take him there. This is another one where I like Daxton Hill a lot, and I think when you look at the Eagles and like sort of what they need, they kind of do need that interior corner safety, right? They got Rodney McLeod's gone. They brought back Anthony Harris, but they still need, a good cornerback. Steven Nelson left, right? So like they need starting caliber players in their nickel, and so this is a good one. It's maybe a little high for where he'll go in the draft, but I mean, what are you going to do? You don't have another pick.
If you're going to hate on Michigan, then Jeff and I are going to have to kick your ass together. So
I know. Like I said, I think he's a good player.
It's funny.
Listen, I like him a lot. I think he is the new breed of the guy that's like the corner safety hybrid. I think if guys are going to disguise coverages, you need guys like this. And I think he hits. And I like guys that hit. There are other guys in later rounds that I love too, that I think don't test as well, that I think are going to be studs in second and third round corners. The kid from Nebraska, I love that corner. I think he's going to be a stud. Britt. He's got 3 names. He's a hyphenated name. But anyway, I like Daxton Hill a lot. So I'm going to give him to the Eagles right there at 18. Jeff?
All right.
First of all, you got anything on Daxton? You got anything on him? Because
I was at the pro day and talking to a couple of scouts about him. They said he's more corner than safety, that his instincts at safety are not the greatest, which is a way of saying he's not as bright as they'd like to have. A nice way of saying that. But he tests phenomenally. He's a great athlete. When I watched him at Michigan, he was the kind of player that he could do a lot of stuff for you, play in the slot, play corner, play safety, but he didn't get his hands on the ball a lot, which is always a concern for a guy who's in that many positions. But he's certainly a talented kid. It's not a bad pick by any means.
By the way, Cam Taylor-Britt is
there you go.
Player that I was talking about.
I see someone's missed my Trayvon Walker to Houston Texans pick at 13. So at her by darkly, Trayvon Walker is gone.
He is definitely gone. Yes. We did finally. He came off the board. So
yep. Yeah. So I'm actually in a pickle here now with New Orleans because, I'm kind of tempted to take Boye Mafe here because I'd like to get some edge help. But I feel like the receiver situation has been so muddled there, and Michael Thomas is a little bit of a headache right now. I'm not certain how he's going to fare moving forward. He obviously was unhappy with Sean Payton down the stretch there. Not much else to work with in that passing game. Passing game was so anemic. They need some help. Even though he's an Ohio State Buckeye, I have a lot of respect and admiration for the way this guy plays football. Chris Olave is coming to the Saints at 19.
They've gone Saints. They've gone Ohio State wide receiver and had a payoff in the past, right, with Michael Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
So they go back to the well there. So Chris Olave, I think this is about – I thought about taking Chris Olave all the way back with the Eagles' first pick. So I gave it some thought with that one, but did not go that direction. All right, so the Saints get a wide receiver and Chris Olave. That brings us to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who, Eric, you feel will not be making this pick. You think they're going to move up for sure, or only if they can get Willis?
But I'm going to go, look, this team has, been one with swashbuckling quarterbacks forever. Terry Bradshaw, Neil O'Donnell kind of had that a little bit. Bubby Brister, just by name alone. And then, had Tommy Maddox, Big Ben. You had Cordell Stewart.
Oh, I know where this is going.
I'm going with Sam Howell, quarterback.
I guess I don't know where it's going.
Oh, my God.
You got like a third-round grade on my board.
So
Desmond Ridder, Matt Corral.
All right, I want to come back. This is the move you make for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Correct.
And listen, I'm okay with it if you have a conviction about the guy. Fixing the quarterback spot is always the best thing. But are you just throwing numbers at it? Like, is this part of your theory that you're going to just take another quarterback next year and keep throwing a quarterback at it until the Steelers get it right?
Well, you have Mitch Trubisky this year. He's cheap. You have, at this time last year, Sam Howell was like one of the favorites to be the first overall pick, right? And you took away, Diami Brown, you took away the Michael Carters and Javonte Williams from his team, and he regressed a little bit. But this is an athletic quarterback who, can make the throws and showed me, look, he wasn't great last year, but he also wasn't, he showed me some toughness. And again, this is a Steelers team, they suck. They're not, it was almost bad for them to make the playoffs in the sense that they're picking 20th instead of 12th, right? When that the 12th pick was the Vikings. The Vikings opened up a 29-point lead on them in that game, in the Thursday night game. This team stinks, and by virtue of a few teams in their division crapping out, they make the playoffs, and now they got to pick 20th. Like I said, I think that this is the kind of pick you make. He has the athleticism that gives you a little bit of a floor. I know a lot of people say that about Ridder, but Ridder, when he got his chance to play against Alabama, how many passes got batted down in that game? We're not talking about a great processor there. And I think Howell is sort of maybe less dynamic. Howell has something struggles at some things Ridder doesn't, but I think he has some things, specifically high-end play against the ACC over the last few years. So, like I said, the Steelers suck. There's not going to be a player that they pick at 20 that's going to change the course of the franchise except for a quarterback. So I'm going to take the best quarterback that I think is left on the board.
Do you think they'll trade out of here though? You think?
I think that if Willis doesn't go 2, I think the Steelers take him at some pick. So whether that's 6, 10, 12, I think Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is going to want to flex his analytics muscles at 12 and trade back. And so I think they end up with Willis. But if they don't end up with Willis, they're going to end up or Ridder. I think that they're going to end up with a quarterback. And, to me, again, I know this is off the wall a little bit, but their quarterback's their pick.
I'm up now with the New England Patriots.
He doesn't know how to react. Soren's dumbfounded by my pick.
I've hosted enough mock drafts on the air on my radio show to know that there are always things and this is why the draft changes. It's why they look at every player. because you think you know where someone's going to go and they go someplace else. I think this is accurate. I think that's the beauty of doing this exercise is it gives you a realistic view of what it is. You're sitting in that room and you think you know where everything's going to go, and somebody jerks the wheel. And so I do think it makes sense. Steelers quarterback, and they're a team that could take it. The Patriots to me are a wild card. I think we're looking here, corner, big stand-up edge guy, somebody that they can get after, but they're kind of weird, right? Like I don't, if they're going to go corner, we're at Andrew Booth. Is he gone yet? No.
He's still out there.
We're at Andrew Booth. We're at Khair Elam, Jalen Petrie. I mean, these are the next few corners that are up there. I'm not, obviously I like Daxton Hill a lot because I skipped over some other guys that maybe other people would have higher. They do kind of odd things, right? Like, so their edges they usually feel like they're the smartest guy in the room and that we can go get an edge rusher. The best edge rusher on the board is what for their style. We're at,
I mean, honestly, right now, Devin Lloyd's the most Patriot guy on the board.
Yeah.
Right. Because
someone just called that. Gary Hamilton called that.
Yeah. He's like, he has the kind of Micah Parsons able to actually rush. He has actual pass rushing skills that are different than blitzing. And he's also a linebacker. Like, he's a real linebacker too. Like, that's the Patriot way right there.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. And I think either Devin Lloyd, I think right now they would be thinking corner, Nakobe Dean, or Devin Lloyd. Right? Like, and this is a team that, as I recall, took back in the day, won Gerard Mayo, shocking the world at number 10. Right? That's where they went with him. I think they go linebacker again here, and I do think it's Devin Lloyd from Utah that comes off the board. So I'll take Devin Lloyd, Utah, to the New England Patriots.
I think I have a Lloyd under 18.5. I think he might go higher because of the way the league is, but I think that this is, probably the right spot for him.
I do too, but when you guys are popping a quarterback everywhere, these guys start to slide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think there may only be one quarterback that goes in the first round. Doesn't it feel like this is either the what was the year the West Virginia quarterback went to?
It's 2013 with EJ Manuel, Geno Smith.
Yes, that there's one guy that's going to go and then everybody else is in the second round. That's what I feel like. But we've already had 3 go in the first round here. And when that happens, guys like Devin Lloyd end up on the slide.
Yep.
Okay.
That's a great value there, though.
I think so too. I don't think he'll be here. I think he makes his way to he might be one of the trade up guys, but I think he's gone before this point. But I also see a scenario where he slides because Eric, called it on one of our other shows. Linebackers are the running backs of the defense, right? A lot of people feel like they can just get them wherever. So I think it's a plausible scenario. If he's there, I think the Patriots grab him. Packers, Jef Chadiha.
Obviously,
right?
Yeah, obviously, I'm going to go receiver here. It's very appealing to take Boye Mafe just because I think he's got a great upside as a pass rusher. But I've already got Rashawn Gary. I've already got Preston Smith. I've got some guys in place already at that spot. My problem here is that the guys who are sitting here, the more highly touted guys are didn't run that fast. So Treylon Burks, Jahan Dotson, they didn't light it up in the 40. Christian Watson is very appealing to me because he's got that 4.36 40 time. But I'm going to go safe here. I'm going to go with the highest receiver on the board, Treylon Burks, at 22 to the Packers, thinking that safe is better than just being caught up in 40 times.
Okay. Treylon Burks to the Packers. The 40 time is a question mark, but Devontae Adams didn't blow the 40 time out of the water, as I recall.
Exactly.
When he was en route to going in the second round. So I think some people may be overthinking it on the Treylon Burks slide thing.
He fits body type. He fits what they do. I mean, a lot of big body guys. I don't know how an Arkansas guy is going to play in the cold, but hey, Aaron Rodgers can make him look good if he's got some ability.
He wins jump balls. I mean, he catches with his hands. So back shoulder throws from Aaron Rodgers. I can see that being a fit. The Arizona Cardinals on the board next for one Eric Eager. Eags.
Yeah, I think if Burks, the high end thing with Burks is and AJ Brown, and if you put AJ Brown on the Packers, that's a pretty good outcome for Green Bay. So I like that pick. I'm going to go football guy here. Look, the Cardinals over the last couple of years, where have they gone? They went Zaven Collins at linebacker, athletic, undersized linebacker guy, right? They went Isaiah Wilson, undersized.
Isaiah
athletic,
Simmons. Yeah.
Isaiah Simmons. Sorry, Isaiah Wilson's out of the league already. Isaiah Simmons, undersized, athletic linebacker. They wanted the linebackers to be able to move against the teams like San Francisco, against LA. In order to have that happen, you need a defensive tackle that's going to eat space. And I think for this defense, for Vance Joseph's defense, I think it's Jordan Davis from Georgia is going to be their nose tackle to keep guards off of those linebackers that they've spent first-round picks on the last 2 years.
I like that thinking.
Yeah. I do too. I haven't seen him. Have you seen him mocked there by many people, Eric?
His prop in the prop market was 13.5. I think a lot of people thought either Houston or Baltimore. Now it's 14.5, but really juiced to the over. I think he's probably going to slide further than people think because the allure of the combine. I mean, he had 7 snaps last year on 3rd down and 7 or longer, right? Like he is a very specialized player that I don't know if you really want to take that player in the top 15 of the draft. But I think right here, especially for a team like Arizona, where you were a win at home against Seattle in Week 18 from winning the NFC West, right? Like getting a home game in the playoffs, and you blew it. And this isn't a team with a ton of holes. I think they can get a specialized player here, especially given again it conforms with what they've done in the draft the last couple of years.
All right, that brings us to pick number 24, the Dallas Cowboys. That puts me on the clock. They could use an edge. They could probably use a wideout, as well, and certainly looking over the horizon. One thing I've noticed about the Cowboys is, like, if you look at what the glaring hole is, they're going to pick it, right? So if you figure out what it is they need, like the Cowboys have been the easiest team to project, and that's not an insult because they do pretty good, right? They're better. We've talked about it a lot. For all the insults that get thrown around for Jerry Jones, he doesn't actually do all the GM work, but carries the title. They're better than people think. And sometimes keep it simple, stupid is not a bad move. And I think the Cowboys know that they play their best football when Dak Prescott's on his feet. Zeke Elliott, they're living with the fact that his contract's, looking bad, and they're going to try to prop that up, and they're going to take Tyler Linderbaum, center from Iowa, for up the middle of the offensive line. I think he is the easiest, safest interior pick that you can make, and there are other guys that are more versatile, but this guy lines up, plays center, and can handle everything. He's been great at Iowa. He'll be at the very least a solid to very good center in the NFL. Buffalo.
I thought you were going to go right tackle.
I thought about it, but I don't love the right tackles here. I like them a little bit later. But I think the guy that can't miss at his position is Linderbaum, and I think that's why they'll take him.
Let me give out some betting advice to some people. Notice how none of us are jumping out and taking tackles right now, even though this is considered a very good tackle class. 7.5 offensive linemen is the line right now. I took under that. I think that it tops out at if you want to bet under offensive players, under tackles, because exactly what Soren says, he takes Tyler Linderbaum, and both Jeff and I are kind of like, I think he's a good player, but should he go here? And that's going to be pick 25 on is going to be a bunch of teams. There's and just like Kansas City was last year, right? Where they needed a tackle. And instead of kind of squinting and looking at Brady Christensen or Alex Leatherwood or whatever, they jumped the shark and got a veteran guy because they didn't want any of these guys to start right away. Just a little bit of a thought as you sort of think about betting the draft. To me, that is one of the clearer sort of trends that I've seen in drafts.
And if I made the mistake of picking who I think the Cowboys will take, as opposed to my board, but I think they'll take offensive line, and I don't think it's a bad move to get the center spot right. So Bills are up Jeff, you're on the clock with the Buffalo Bills.
This is the easiest pick I will have made in this draft since pick number 1. Bills are loaded roster-wise. What did I say all last season until it happened towards the end of the year? Run the football more.
Hall pick.
It's the Breece Hall pick. That's right. Breece Hall. I don't care what you say about first-round running backs. This kid can come in. He can play right away. He runs the ball well. He catches it well. He'll fit with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and all other weapons they have down there. He's from Wichita, Kansas, so that's even like a bonus there as far as this podcast goes. So I can't lose with Breece Hall, a Big 12 kid coming to Buffalo.
Okay. All right. There it is. Breece Hall for the Buffalo Bills. They get a running back, so they're going to pound the rock. And
I'll say this.
Take some pressure off Josh Allen.
I'll say this, though. The interesting thing about Buffalo, and I tweeted about this a little bit ago, I've been looking at sort of like these idea of perfectly blocked runs, right, where everybody on the line gets a good grade from PFF. How do running backs sort of attack that? The thing that Buffalo has been doing, which I think is actually like fairly strong, is Buffalo has been taking guys with high broken tackle rates, right? Because one of the translatable skills from college to pro is guys that break tackles. So Zach Moss, Devin Singletary are broken tackle guys. But the interesting thing is, even though that Buffalo does not have a great offensive line player by player, they have a good scheme and they have a quarterback that can run, which makes it easy for the offensive line to make blocks. So their percentage of perfectly blocked runs is fairly high. And so actually in the run game, what they need is a guy who can average 10 yards a carry when you have perfectly blocked runs. And so I think that this is a player who has that characteristic. I can't remember exactly how many he averaged. I got to find the tweet or whatever. But this running back does fit into what they want, which makes sense. I know Jeff doesn't like Michigan State, but Kenneth Walker probably is probably just as good as Breece Hall. But I know.
Can he catch?
The market, but like, can Breece Hall pass protect? Like, I feel like that's like the big thing with him is he's not a very interested pass protector. Okay, so we're at 26. Tennessee.
Yep.
We're at 26.
A team that is one of the worst 1 seeds in the history of the NFL last year. They a lot of needs as well. I'm gonna go. And I think that this is going to be a little bit high in many people's boards, but he ranks really well for us. Good separator, good guy at tracking the football, also adds return value. Sky Moore, wide receiver, Western Michigan.
Ooh,
that's high.
That is high.
High for Sky.
Wow, it is
so better than Jahan Dotson.
Sky high.
Yeah. Like you are Sky High and making that pick.
Yeah, and I know you like Sky more, but don't you like Jahan Dotson even more? Are you saving Jahan Dotson to put?
I'm not saving Jahan Dotson for the Chiefs. I'm not saving Jahan Dotson for the.
What about O-line? Yeah, like everybody's talking O-line here in the comments, which way I thought you were going to go there.
But that's like, and I think that's the point that Eric was making earlier. Is like, the mock drafts are not necessarily what's going to happen. And if you see a depth of a position, and you're looking at it, I think that's what we're all doing too, is like, do I take the 4th best guy at this position or the best guy at that one? And that's where I think the Cowboys actually make people look stupid because people overthink it. There is something to be said for Chris Ballard being the champion of drafting the positions that don't matter.
Draft right? Good players.
Yeah. He gets linebackers and guards, but left tackles, quarterbacks, wide receivers, the guys that will actually go win games, edge rushers, cover corners, he's not grabbing those guys. And so I think there is a balance between, taking the positions that matter, but not taking the 5th best guy or sometimes the 2nd or 3rd best guy, recognizing the fall off and going and solidifying, good spots. So,
yeah, I also thought about Zion Johnson, the guard from Boston College. I would rather take a wide receiver. Look, Sky Moore was higher on PFF's board than Zion Johnson. Wide receiver is a more valuable position than guard. So that's like where I win. And Sky Moore is higher on PFF's board than Jahan Dotson. Sky Moore might be available to the Chiefs. Like that might be a thing. I also know that like thematically, the Chiefs need a Jahan Dotson type wide receiver. The Titans already have a all around good wide receiver in AJ Brown. They need kind of a jitterbug deep threat guy. The Chiefs kind of it's a schematic thing to me too, but also Sky Moore is higher on PFF board. So like that's the reasoning behind the pick.
Okay.
And I'm not saving Jahan Dotson for the Chiefs.
Okay. Right here, my plan was Zion Johnson was to go guard, and I think there's a strong possibility that that's where the Bucs go. If Tom Brady's going to come back, you got to protect him, and he may be maybe even dictating what it is you're going to take. I like I've said all along, I don't think there are any of the wide receivers that right now I'm like I got to have this guy. So I don't think going out and grabbing another weapon is a possibility. Zion Johnson is who I thought I'd be taking here. As you mentioned, the BC guard. But the fact that Devontae Wyatt is still here is something that I don't think is going to happen. I don't think was supposed to happen. And I do think that there's still an understanding that getting after the quarterback is what won them a championship. And I think they get, maybe the best all-around defensive tackle in the game or in this draft with Devontae Wyatt from Georgia. So the Bucs take Devontae Wyatt, D-tackle Georgia. And by the way, that pains me because I was, getting a little bit excited that maybe he was going to get there to my Kansas City Chiefs. He will not get there because if I'm going to do the right thing, I think the Bucs take Devontae Wyatt.
This also saves the Bucs, right? Because the Bucs, as of this point, have not re-signed Ndamukong Suh.
Right.
So this is not only like a good value for them, but also it saves them, against the cap.
And I thought about that. And that's what originally had me going to Zion Johnson at this spot was because I feel like Ndamukong Suh is probably like, I'll either play for the Bucs or I'm going to retire. So they leave him sitting there, and if they don't find a guy, they go get him. But I think Devontae Wyatt's good enough that they're like, we're going this route, and maybe they sign Ndamukong Suh as well. But I think Devontae Wyatt is the piece they need right here. So he comes off at 27. 28, the Packers. Jeff, back up again. A lot of double picks. I had to pick 2 for the Eagles. You got to pick 2 for – it's funny how that fell. But anyway, the Packers at 28.
Yeah, well, I could ruin Eric's dream of drafting Jahan Dotson at 29, but since I've already taken a wide receiver with a first-round pick, I think it'd be ludicrous to do that twice in the first round.
Why? Can I object to that? Like, these are all dart throws, right? And I think when teams will get smarter when they acknowledge that they might make a mistake. And when they do, they will identify what their needs are. And the need doesn't change. Wide receivers are one of the most bustable positions out there. I did a thing today with the Chiefs. The Chiefs' 6 leading receivers that they have drafted by most career yards. How many of them do you think were first-round picks?
None, right?
Dwayne Bowe is one, right?
One.
Okay, one. Bowe.
First of all, the tight ends are up at the top of their, passing receiving yardage list. But you hear their 6, Joe Horn by their career, not just with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Joe Horn took him in the 5th. Otis Taylor took him in the 4th. Dwayne Bowe took him in the 1st. Tyreek Hill took him in the 5th. Henry Marshall took him in the 3rd. Carlos Carson took him in the 5th. Right? Like, if you think you need a wide receiver, throwing multiple picks at it is not a bad move. So I don't think they will either. I think Jeff's right, but I think the Packers should pick 2 wide receivers and make sure they get at least one right.
Yeah. Well, I think I will go 2nd or 3rd round for it. I'm not saying I won't take more receivers. I think there's good value here right now. Boye Mafe still on the board. I mentioned him before. Part of me feels like the way the offensive line has gone with the injuries, you want to protect Aaron Rodgers. You want to make sure he's got they've had some departures there. I'm going to go ahead and take Trevor Penning here at right tackle. I think that's a safe pick. But Boye Mafe would be a more aggressive pick. But again, I think I've got some people there that I like rushing the passer. But I'll go Trevor Penning.
Trevor Penning. So here's another offensive lineman that comes off the board towards Eric's draft prop. So Trevor Penning to the Packers. That brings.
I'm actually going to contribute to this. No, I know Jahan Dotson is one of the guys, but this is a player out of Central Michigan who I think has a chance to be what the Chiefs have been missing since they lost Mitchell Schwartz. So I'm gonna go with Bernard Raymond of Central Michigan.
Wow.
I thought wide receiver all the way here.
Oh, that just I was scrambling.
It's that math major.
I was scrambling.
He's a math major too. Yeah.
All right, give me what you were considering, and then I'll tell you what I was scrambling around for.
I was considering either like Raymond, Pickens, or Jahan Dotson.
Okay.
Or Arnold.
Wait a minute, you said Pickens from Georgia?
Or Arnold Ibadike from Penn State.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's where I sit now, right? Because I really thought Eric was going to go Boye Mafe. I almost wonder if he didn't make this pick because he feels like I'm going to go Boye Mafe, and he's going to get what he wants.
How could they not go edge here?
They have to, and I was prepared. This has now made this pick boring for me. Eric's selection of an offensive tackle makes this whole thing it just took all the air out of my balloon because I was going to do just what I was telling the Packers to do. I expected him to take Boye Mafe, and my choices were going to come down to Arnold Ebiketie or Drake Jackson. One of those two edges to add to it, because not only do the Chiefs need an edge right now, they need an edge next year because Frank Clark is done. Any thought that he's suddenly going to figure it out is ridiculous. We've talked about why, he's still on the team. You have to do that. And the Chiefs, certainly under John Dorsey, we're always kind of drafting for next year's replacement, right? When they took D Ford, they knew the end was coming. I can't remember which one was leaving first. I think it was Justin Houston, or that was on his way out, or maybe it was the Penn State guy, Tamba Halil.
By the way, the Raymond pick in the comments, fan favorite right now.
Yeah.
I'm making all the Chiefs fans happy.
Whereas here we go. Here's one. Get you some love up here. Because I did bomb you with the picks when they didn't like your picks earlier. The fans, here's one.
It might just be the same fans over and over and over again saying the same thing, but the Bernard Raymond pick, I think people like.
From Budapest.
Here's one. Yeah, there's folks that like it. I don't hate it. I'm fine with the right.
Solid. Yeah.
I think that's a good pick, and I think he's a guy. There's a number of guys, and I think there's guys in later rounds as to why I don't think they'll actually do that, because I think there are some Chiefs-looking offensive tackles in later rounds that look like they could line up and play guard maybe this year, but even have a shot to play left tackle, which Orlando Brown, there's no word, and I'm hearing he still doesn't have an agent picked out yet. So I
heard he's still hungover from Pat's wedding.
Well, it could be. He was there for him. He wanted to be there for him, and so I think it makes tackle. I mean, there's no movement there at all. And Orlando Brown basically talked his way out of Baltimore, which was the perfect situation for him. Right tackle on a team that plays exactly the way he needs to play, and he was going to get like 19-20 million, but he wanted to talk his way to left tackle. Like, I think that's a more flammable situation than people realize. So. I actually like the pick, but I thought he was going to go edge. I was going to go edge there as well.
Did you see Zach Eisen's response to my reaction to George Pickens? He's like, you should be sprinting to the podium right now, Soren.
So he's a hot name. Like, people right now, if you look at Pickens' draft,
get it. Yeah, I get what he was before he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
But I think here's why he won't go. There may be
plus 150 to be a first round pick.
Listen, he could go to the Chiefs. The word I'm hearing is the Chiefs and a lot of other people think he's a major pain in the ass, right? And is that really where you want to go? Are you going to take a big pain in the ass? And receivers tend to get to the NFL and become bigger pain in the ass. Start at pain in the ass level. Where are you going to be in 2 years if you have any success? Right? Yeah. I get it. And I liked Pickens a lot. And had we done this 2 months ago before I talked to some people, I would probably be running up there for Pickens as well, but it's not the pick. It makes it completely boring. But the most Steve Spagnuolo-like defensive end on the board, and they have to take an edge rusher now, and they will be taking an edge rusher at 52, I think, is Boye Mafe. of Minnesota. I dragged it out long enough. I think he's the guy. Take your whoever your favorite edge rusher is. And by the way, it's not David Ojabo. You're not like tearing an Achilles tendon is not the same as tearing an ACL. And
so what's your so you just like Mafe over Ebikite?
Well,
it's just a personal preference.
First, Ebikite has Pittsburgh Steeler attack outside edge guy written all over him.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like Ebikite, but Steve Spagnuolo takes taller guys.
They like rough defensive ends, right? Like hand in the grass guys.
Yeah, I mean, we did one of the draft simulators on the air, and I broke down each one of the picks I made for the Chiefs, and I took the Houston D tackle, D end, long. Isn't that what it is? Hang on, let me find it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, maybe he's under D tackle on this list, but because I think that's the kind of guy that he likes. But I think of the edge rushers that are there, and I agree with Jeff. They have to take an edge rusher here, and I think the guy that fits the mold of what they want most is Boye Mafe. And I do think Ebikite is a pick of being a little bit shorter. I think they pass on him. And frankly, I don't think Ebikite will be here at this point. Do you?
I mean, he is here, right? So like that's kind of where
our mock draft. Yeah,
I could see him going to the Patriots at 21 before now. I could see him going
he does
to
feel like Devin Lloyd is the linebacker version of Kyle Van Noy, and Ebikite might be the edge version of Kyle Van Noy, right? Like every one of their guys kind of fits that mold, right? Who is he was a Michigan guy, Josh Uche, right? Like that's who they drafted, right? Like that's the kind of edge player they like, is kind of a hybrid player, which is kind of going away, right? Because the 3-4 defense those guys used to be Lawrence Taylor types, right? And now they're just like defensive ends. In most cases,
I think he could be a Green Bay Packer as well, because they can use an edge. So I love the guy, but I think Boye Mafe fits their scheme. I won't be upset if they do, but I will be upset if David Ojabo. Where would you put him? Where would you take him?
60.
60? See,
I go higher than that.
Oh, I fourth round.
Fourth round.
I'm not touching anybody with an Achilles tendon. The Achilles tendon is not the ACL. If you blow one, you're probably going to blow the other.
Yeah.
You're going to wait a year, then maybe watch him blow the other one. Pass.
I'm thinking about him at 31 right now.
And you're the guy, Jeff, who told me there's all these guys, that grew up in another country now that are playing football that you got to teach the game of football.
Yeah.
So that backed me off a little bit.
That's true. I want to answer the question that Zach Eisen had about Christian Watson. I mean, not Christian Watson, George Pickens. I just think there are other players at that position, at that spot, who are still available, like Jahan Dotson, like Christian Watson, who I like better. I think George Pickens is a good player. I don't think that's a bad idea. I just think on my board, he was far lower than the guys who were still available.
Yeah, the thing with like Dotson to me is like an elite separator, good guy at tracking the ball. He's kind of a Keenan Allen type. Watson, the problem with Watson relative to Pickens is you have Watson had one of the higher drop rates in the class against, FCS opponents mostly. Pickens had one of the lowest drop rates in the SEC when healthy. That, and they're not similar athletes. I mean, Pickens, is a little slower, obviously, and has the injury stuff. So the one I'm out on Watson, I guess, just because, I'm a big time college production guy. If you can't produce at NDSU, like, I don't really care how athletic you are.
Who was the last Georgia receiver to do anything in the NFL?
Mecole Hardman, Super Bowl winning third wide receiver.
Hines Ward.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Hines Ward.
No. By the way, if we're going to throw around love, I did get a little love for my, Mafe. He's the guy. That's true. I guess.
No, he actually grew up in America. His parents are from Nigeria. He spent the 8th grade at a Nigerian boarding school, but he grew up in Eric's hometown.
Okay.
Minneapolis.
So I'll take my pick. I'll take my pick. Okay. Jeff, you're up with the Bengals.
I'm sitting pretty here with the Bengals because I fixed a lot of my needs, my pressing needs in the offseason or earlier in the offseason with offensive line. So I used a second round pick on a guard last year. I picked up 3 guys in free agency this year. I'm tempted to take a pass rusher just because Ebiketie is there, and a lot of snaps for Sam Hubbard and Trey Hendrickson. They played a lot of downs in that defense. But I feel like corner, as much as they spent on corner in the last couple of years, is still a place where I get more value here. I think Eli Apple they brought him back just because they had to fill a hole, but he's a 1-year fix. Andrew Booth is sitting there from Clemson. I just think the value I get at that spot is too good to pass up. I've got a lot of things that I like about this team. He gives me more depth at corner.
Okay.
Under 4.5 corners in round 1 is a sharp bet, by the way. And I think we demonstrated that a little bit here with Booth going, basically you had McDuffie at 17 and then Booth at 31. Now, guys, let's circle all the way back here. So I'm Detroit, Jeff's hometown team. I took Malik Willis.
Quarterback at 2.
I took Malik Willis at 2. So I'm taking Arnold Ibadike at 32. So instead of having Kayvon Thibodeau and let's say Desmond Ridder, I have Arnold Ibadike and I have Malik Willis. What do you guys think?
On paper, it looks good. I'd rather switch those 2 picks, but I'll take it.
I think your point is a good one. Like the idea of that there is going to be a good edge guy down here. And so if that's what you're locked into, and we've also just pointed out there's probably pretty good corner value right here as well. There's some other premium, spots that in corners, something that they could use. I think it's a good point. I agree with you.
Yeah, so the guys left on PFF's board right now after this is Nakobe Dean, Zion Johnson, Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith was also somebody I was considering for the Chiefs at 29 as a tackle prospect. Lewis Seen, which is one of Soren's favorite players. Travis Jones, which is one of my favorite players. George Pickens, Kahir Elam, Jalen Petra, Leo Chenal. I know they like linebacker in Detroit, linebacker from Wisconsin. And then you also have Drake Jackson, Nick Benito, Kenyon Green, Jaquan Brisker. So there's like a lot. Like I think that the draft is flat enough where, again, if you really like Willis's upside, and that's all I'm doing here, right? Detroit's not the pick that Detroit makes at 2. Like this, they don't have it's not Javon Curse, right? Like it's not unless you have a quarterback like a Steve McNair. You're just like Javon Curse isn't making that leap for you, right?
Yeah.
So, I might be jumping the gun. They kind of like Goff. Maybe you wait till next year, but I think like this exercise kind of shows that like if they go quarterback at 2, they're not the opportunity cost isn't that high, right? So anyway.
So that brings us with the first pick of the second round, just to give us 11 picks each. And after sitting for a day and digesting everything, right? And the Jaguars have plenty of needs. Tyler Smith, I think, is a distinct possibility here, the offensive tackle from Tulsa. But I think, Doug Peterson is going to want weapons. And Doug Peterson saw the Chiefs take a lot of heat for taking Tyreek Hill as a different type of receiver. But 21 years old, there's upside. They'll convince themselves that they can handle George Pickens, and they will select George Pickens of Georgia with the first pick of the second round. Now, do you like, Eric, are you happy with Aiden Hutchinson and George Pickens if you're the Jaguars?
I think, yes. I think that this is consistent with what they've done in free agency, which is to overspend for guys who are probably going to be decent, right? And if they would have gone with Walker or something a little bit more like Walker's that like high variance player. If they do that, that's kind of inconsistent with what they're trying to do, which is to take all their capital, both draft and free agent, and put together like kind of not sure things, but like less volatile things around Trevor Lawrence. Like I think, and so Pickens is a good complement for their offense, right? Because they have Chenault and they have Kirk and like, who is the other guy they signed who was the Atlanta receiver, Russell Gage.
Yeah.
Like I think Pickens is sort of a good complement to all those guys.
All right. What real quick? What do we think of what happened here? What are you thinking as far as people sliding? We had one of the questions about Nakobe Dean still being out there. I think that absolutely is something that can happen. Linebackers often slide. So I'm not stunned that happened. Anything kind of shock you or surprise you as to how it ended up falling, Jeff?
I would say I thought we might get 3 quarterbacks in there. A little more desperation at that position, but it seems like you guys look at Seattle and Carolina. We did?
3.
Oh, Sam Howell. Okay.
Yeah.
So we only got 2 quarterbacks still, right?
No, didn't we?
I'm joking.
No, we have
saying Sam Howell's not a quarterback. So maybe I thought Desmond Ridder would be in the first round. I thought he would be a guy that would be attractive. I thought, I'm not surprised. Linebacker doesn't surprise me given the way the position is gone, but Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, Christian Harris, I think is a pretty good player. But again, those guys are all going to be around in the 2nd and 3rd round. Tyler Smith, Kyler Gordon, those are names that I thought
Kyler Gordon's one
would go.
Yeah, Kyler Gordon's been mocked to the Chiefs of late.
Well,
so. Don't you as I look at it, and I hear people say it, but I think when you do the mock drafts, this is one of the things you see. I do think the 2nd round's the sweet spot. But I think it's through about 45 is where it starts to kind of fall off. I think there's 1.5 rounds of guys that you could be going in the 1st round. But then I think certainly for the edge, don't you think any and all edges left are going to be flying off the board to start the 2nd round?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's interesting. I feel like Chiefs fans that are nervous that Brett Veach is going to trade up in round 1 maybe have to redirect their angst towards round 2, right? Like that might be the place where he sees, Mafe come off the board, Ibekite off the board, Drake Jackson, the kid from Oklahoma, I'm forgetting his name.
Nick Benito.
And he kind of, if they don't address it in round 1, he might panic a little bit. But again, I think even round 2 falls similarly to round 1, where if there's a run on one position they need, that's going to pile up players at other positions they need. And it's probably going to, I think that they're going to have a really big string of bad luck to have to trade up for who they need in this draft.
I also think that if you're in the market for a corner, you like what's still out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's still some good depth guys that are out there. For a corner that the board didn't get cleared of all the corners, so I think you're there. I think there's going to be a lot of activity at the top of round 2, right? When you start Friday night, I think there's going to be a lot of people moving up or down. Moving up. Obviously the other side's got to move down, but moving up to get after some of the guys. I think there's some big names there that people are going to really be going for. All right. Anything else?
No, if you, by the way, if you want to look at a review of the draft, I tweeted out a screenshot of what we all picked with Soren's original tweet. So just go to at Soren Petro,
and I'll retweet it
for that as well. And you could also see which one of us took who. And so, don't blame Jeff or Soren for Malik Willis at 2 or Sam Howell at 20.
That's right. Steelers fans, get ready.
Yeah. Look, I think it's a great exercise. A lot of fun doing it. Now we just got to have the draft, and we'll see how much this all gets wrecked by trades that happen. When we come to you next week, we're going to hit Red, Gold, and Bold on Tuesday, and we'll do another 2 Deep on Wednesday, getting you ready for the draft. And usually Wednesday is when the trades start to happen. So we'll see how many of these become moot because people are moving around with their picks. So for Jef Chadiha of NFL Network and NFL.com, Eric Eager from Pro Football Focus, my name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB. Hit us with a like. Make sure you subscribe. We would appreciate it greatly. And we will talk to you next Tuesday with Red, Gold, and Bold.